hour. We're going to go ahead and get started. This is Jimmy King with BankingBridge. I am with Rishi Choudhary of Kastle.ai. We wanted to take this November webinar and talk a little bit about what is going on specifically in the mortgage industry with AI. A little bit about what Rishi's working on. He is in San Francisco. He launched his software company, AI company, a couple months ago. I'll let you give the background, but the focus of this webinar is to talk a little bit about what are different industry vendors utilizing in the mortgage space with AI today. A little bit about lead conversion, how you can use it every day, practical use cases for AI. So Rishi, thanks for jumping in. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you are working on.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jimmy. Super excited about this. So as you mentioned, we're building Kastle.ai, which is the AI platform for the mortgage industry. Our first product, our flagship product, is a AI voice agent that is being used by large servicers to collect payments, welcome new borrowers, and by lenders to qualify new lead inquiries over the phone. Before Kastle, I had the privilege to work at Redfin and get my feet wet within the mortgage industry. So Redfin has this amazing mortgage marketplace business where 50 million users come to the website every month and they fill out a lead form to connect with a lender. And I had the privilege to work with Evan Sauer, who leads that marketplace, to grow that demand. And love the mortgage industry, chose to start Kastle within the mortgage industry. We just finished Y Combinator a month or so ago, and are building and cranking here in San Francisco.
Cool. So you have intentionally focused on voice AI. So tell us, specifically with Kastle, what problem that you saw and what you're looking to solve, specifically today.
Yeah, it's funny. Within the mortgage industry, a lot of the consumer interaction that a lender or a servicer has still happens over the phone, and that is a critical point of communication that the lender or servicer needs to staff up for to support that use case. And it is expensive. It is also time consuming to hire, manage, and train and retrain loan officers and have them perform consistent roles. What we believe in Kastle is that there is this place for the loan officer, and how do we help the loan officer become a top originator, and with the power of an AI assistant, where the AI assistant, it works hand in hand with the loan officer, automates the manual tasks, so the loan officer can take their time and focus on building relationships and not doing the manual back office or manual calling work that they are frankly not that great at.
So you would go ahead.
Go ahead.
So you would say an example of that would be, I was a loan officer for a long time. You make the loan officer makes that first touch, outreach phone call, physically picks up the phone, makes that first maybe 1, 2. So something that you're thinking is call 3, 4, and maybe even 5. That could be their agent working on their behalf. Is that a use case?
Yeah, that is a use case. Right now, to get from a lead to a pre-approval, it can take about 10 phone calls. And if you have a team of 10 loan officers and you're buying 1,000 leads a month, that's a lot of phone calls for you to make, which frankly you may not be making, and you're losing out on that lead conversion. So it's how do you automate that manual touch? And so instead of making the loan officers making outbound calls, they get leads calling them. Mm-hmm. Because AI calls the lead and does a warm transfer.
Mm-hmm. And then on the servicing side, so you've got that kind of business, building that out. Give us some examples of what you guys are helping on post-closing servicing.
Yeah, absolutely. So that servicing is really our bread and butter right now. We work with some of the largest services in the country. And these servicers, they get up to like 20, 30,000 calls a day. And it's mostly homeowners calling in to like make their payment because they don't have ACH set up, or they just prefer to make the payment over the phone, or they live paycheck to paycheck and they just want to make the payment at the last day of the month. And so these servicers need to scale up with the call demand comes in, and it's impossible to hire hundreds of people within a week. So when high call demand comes in, the borrower needs to wait 10 to 15 minutes on hold to make that payment. So what we do is that instead of the phone call going to the human agent, the AI agent takes the call. And the AI agent collects the payment, answers the borrower's question, and they can get on with that day.
Got it. So where is the state of the business for that today? So if I'm calling in, I'm saying, hey, I call my servicer, I'm just trying to make a payment. How much of that is currently automated? Do you think any services are doing it, or is it kind of business as usual as it's been the last 10 years? Or some doing more than others?
Yeah, some doing more than others. Servicing is a slow-moving business because of like how complex and how highly regulated this is, and so services are hesitant to adopt consumer-facing generative AI technology before it's been tested in the market. So we work with some of the largest, but we're at the same time educating more servicers to the benefits of an AI system. Frankly, the AI is a lot more auditable and compliant than a human agent. You can control AI, thousands of AI agents. You can't control thousands of human agents.
Right. So the goal for you is on the servicing side is to either drastically reduce the number of support people that you actually need humans, and eventually replace those people working the everyday customer support job with AI agents. That is the end goal, right?
I don't think that's the end goal per se. The goal is like, how can you service more loans with a smaller team, and how do you use your staffing for the most complex tasks, and let AI handle the most standard, the most manual and most repetitive work, so that you can use the human agents when you need them the most.
So when you think, if for the folks that are on the webinar, is the big advantage of AI is you get fast responses and it's around the clock. No matter if someone calls in at 2:00 in the morning or 6 a.m. or whatever time they're calling in, they've always got somebody there to help them. Some of this is a work in progress, but Rishi is in San Francisco. He is very in tune with what's going on with AI. And a lot of this conversation today is to talk about what's happening today, and then what are we going to see in the next 12 to 24 months with AI in the mortgage industry. So as far as, let's talk about the first step of what lenders need to know about having the access to the data. So give us a little bit of insight on that.
Yeah. So I think the first step to adopting generative AI is you owning the customer data. And for any large enterprise to implement AI, you first need to have one central source where the data lives. Currently, it can be that you have the loan origination system as a system of record, you have the CRM, you have the point of sale, and data lives in different silos. And you can still, and it's hard for you to reap the benefits of generative AI if your data is siloed, because now the consumer touch point is only limited to that specific sort of silo that you're using in time. The first step is actually creating a data warehouse. So we've seen large servicers and lenders like Freedom Mortgage, before they had a generative AI strategy, they had a data strategy. So Freedom Mortgage worked with Snowflake and created a data warehouse and the central repository of where that data lives. And now they're building generative AI applications on top of that data warehouse, so that they're not dependent on their vendors to pipe that data to the generative AI application, and they can pipe that data directly from the data warehouse. So I think that's really the step.
So examples of what would be in that data would be obviously consumers' information. So first name, last name, phone, email, and then loan information, home value, loan amount, interest rate, closing date, everything you can think of that's associated with that person. Is that right? That's what you're looking for?
Essentially, like all the end-to-end data from like a lead to a loan closing, everything about the property, everything about the loan application, about the rate, about the borrower, about the co-borrowers, about all the touch points and the customer communication that has happened. That all needs to be in one place for a long-term generative AI strategy. Mm-hmm. But that said, that's not necessary. If you want to implement Gen AI right now, you don't need to go and build a data warehouse. You can integrate, for example, I know, Jimmy, you've done a lot of work around, SMS-based lead engagement, and you're working with lenders who might not have a data warehouse. Like, can you talk a little bit about that, like how that's working?
Yeah, so it's built on ChatGPT, and a lead comes in, and then we can send out via SMS, we can send out the loan summary image of a worksheet, like a loan summary worksheet, along with an introductory message. And we're just getting the lead details. So those like 8 to 10 data points, first name, last name, estimated credit score, all very, very top of the funnel. For us right now, the goal of that conversation is, like he said at the very beginning, it's to take a workload off the actual loan officer. They have this agent working on their behalf, and the agent's job is to schedule a call on a Calendly link for the LO. So it's not to answer every single question. It's to be responsive. It's to provide intelligent answers to questions. But the goal of that for us right now is to schedule those calls for the loan officer. So, that's what we're doing with a tiny data set. It's just 8 to 10 data points. But then, of course, what we talked about earlier, Rishi, is CRM. Yeah, CRM is a great place for a lot of lenders to start looking at data. Is that right?
Yeah. CRM is a great place because a lot of the lift from generative AI right now comes from the consumer interaction between the mortgage company and the consumer. And the place where all the consumer data lives right now is the CRM. And if you're just using AI for basic lead follow-up, lead re-engagement, or lead qualification, you can just build a chatbot on top of your CRM or a voice agent on top of your CRM and have that interface.
And so that could be a birthday message, something very basic. It's their birthday. Maybe you call them, and you have the voice agent wish them a happy birthday. It's basic things. Is that kind of what you're thinking? Or a text message that goes out if rates drop, things like that.
Yeah, so you could, from like the initial lead coming out, the lead coming into your CRM, an AI agent reaching out or SMS to schedule an appointment with the loan officer, and then after the appointment is booked, reminding the consumer that they have this appointment coming up, 30 minutes before. And, if the loan officer has not touched a lead in 30 days, the AI agent calls them and re-engages them to understand what that timeline might look like. And to like going deeper to, like database nurturing, as you mentioned with, birthday messages or, hey, rates have dropped, or, here's a new loan product that might be great for you.
Got it. And that can be on most any CRM. correct?
Yeah. There are two ways to think about this use case. First, there are CRMs who offer the AI chatbot as part of their product. So, for example, Total Expert being one of them. And there are other platforms, other CRMs, where you can where you can use a CRM and then use an AI chatbot provider. And they can speak to each other using API calls.
Got it. So if we think about lead follow-up here, basics that everyday loan officers can use: SMS outreach, automating that using AI. So right now there's a lot of CRMs that do have SMS, but it's a sequence, which means
Yeah.
it still relies on the loan officer to respond. And if the loan officer doesn't respond in a timely manner, then obviously the lead has a chance of dropping off. We talked about those second, third, and fourth phone call touches. I think that's a really good one, where the loan officer makes the first one, maybe even the second one, and then the agent makes the third and fourth one to get to 6 or 7 touches. Email outreach for us, like for BankingBridge in most businesses, maybe you're leveraging ChatGPT to make you more productive. And Rishi and I talked about that prior to the call, was using ChatGPT to help you come up with ideas, using something, a language model to write your emails for you. That is very helpful just to make your team or you or your marketing team much more productive. The other cool one, we do a lot of video. We use a service called Vidyard, and Vidyard is really pushing. You can make an avatar of yourself, and most people have probably seen this now, but it's really cool. You can you can feed it the script. You do a couple of testing with your voice and your look. It'll create an avatar. It'll write this. It'll create. You give it the script. It'll do the voice, and then you can send out your milestone messages using video. This video AI, you can do happy birthday messages. So it's a really interesting way to use video, which I feel like is very powerful today. And you can start incorporating a little bit of AI into that as well. Anything you'd add to that?
No, yeah, I think AI is real. Everyone needs to be thinking about how to implement AI. For example, at Castle, we write a lot of code and we ship a lot of code. And I think 20% of the code written by Castle is now by AI.
Mm-hmm.
Because we use tools like Cursor and Anthropic's Claude's 3.5 Sonnet models that allows us ship faster. And as you mentioned, there are applications for AI, not just within your business, but also in personal life, where you can edit videos, think about a business strategy, and communicate with ChatGPT and have that back and forth. And there are a lot of applications, and people need to start thinking about them.
Sure. And if you have any questions, please put those in chat. So we have chat there in the webinar. Feel free to drop those in chat, and we'll stop and answer those. So point of sales, loan operating systems. Let's walk through that of use cases that are happening today or probably will be happening in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah. So I think in the next 18 months, we'll have AI agents taking an entire loan application, where you have the loan officer who's available to help the borrower guide through complex questions, or if they want to talk about specifically rates, because AI agents are not authorized to talk about rates. But AI, if it's just uploading information, collecting documents, integrating your financial asset details and your bank account information, you're doing your credit pull, all of that can happen with an AI agent. So we're seeing companies like Blend who are working on AI agents that operate on top of their POS. So you can fill out an application with your phone without leaving the chat window. And then what we're also seeing in the early stages right now is AI avatars of loan officers at that point of sale. So a borrower gets a link from a loan officer. They log on to that link to fill out the loan application, and they have like a video avatar of the loan officer who's there to engage them and answer questions. It's very personalized. So I think that's where the industry is moving towards, is personalizing the point of sale experience for every single borrower, not just with the UI aspect, but also with personalized AI agents who are there to like guide them through every step.
Mm-hmm. What about the idea of being able to kind of speak your loan application? So
Oh yeah.
that may be out there now, but instead of typing everything, you can just talk
Oh
to
yeah.
your phone or wherever you are.
So that's one thing that we're working on at Castle is, an AI phone agent collecting a loan application. So a lead comes in, especially for refi, you know, a refi borrower already knows what they want. They're just looking for the best rate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so a refi lead comes in, the AI agent makes the call and has a conversation with the borrower on, what their timeline is and what other offers they have. If the AI agent then collects that data, hits the pricing system via an API call, and then sends them a loan summary. If the borrower likes the loan summary, the AI agent can take the application over the phone and reduce the time to, close a loan from like a week to a day.
Yeah. Yeah, you would think that where are the sticking points right now that really delay things? Uh, Title work. It seems like title work is one of those. Appraisal is one of
Mhm.
those that can add, if you have to do an appraisal, that can add a few days. But if image reading, tax returns, obviously W-2s, bank statements, if all that becomes so good, and it probably already is, you can really take closings down 2 days. Yeah, to
Yeah,
actual days, maybe hours, but probably
yeah,
days, and in the next 2 years.
absolutely. I think the another thing around closing and document extracting data from documents, there we've seen like a magnitude of developments in the OCR technology over the last 18 months.
And
So
what is OCR? What does OCR stand for?
So OCR is object recognition, object character recognition. So you're parsing through a document and you're extracting text from that document and then parsing that text. Uh, so that used to be the way traditionally OCR was done. But now OCR, instead of extracting text from a document, you actually can extract the image itself. So
Hmm.
you're not processing the individual characters on the document. You're processing the entire image itself. So that improves accuracy by a lot because you're not trying to map a character to a character in the English language. You're trying to take the image and process it with reasoning. Um, so we've seen OCR has improved by 10x. Has The accuracies have improved by 10x in the last 18 months.
That's funny. My brother. I have a 8-year-old and 6-year-old, two nieces, and he sent me one of their report cards, like kind of like a standardized test at the end of the year to show me their, not grades, but it's more like a score based on state score, and it had all these data points, and I didn't really want to read it. I wanted to read it, but I didn't want to read it. So I put it in ChatGPT, and just the image, and it did exactly what you said. It told me everything. It said, this looks like a standardized score or a standardized test from North Carolina. Here is the reading. Here's how they're doing in reading. Here's how boom, boom, boom. Is that an example of what OCR is?
Yeah. So ChatGPT is using OCR on the back end where they are using their image model. So ChatGPT is like a bunch of different models. There's the text model, there's the image model, and there's the audio model. So they are using the image model to parse that image and
Mm.
try and understand what this image is, and then reason through your question. Um, so
So if you're
and
out there, I would say if you're out there and you have an image, maybe a report card of a friend, of your son or daughter, put it in ChatGPT, just the image itself, take a picture of it, upload it in ChatGPT, and it will give you. summary of the whole thing. It's pretty interesting.
Exactly. And it's funny, like in San Francisco, street parking is horrible. Um, and there are all these like 10 different signs on can you park at this time, different rules for Sundays, different rules for after work. And when you park on the street, you have these like posts that tell you what to do. So what I do usually is that like I just take a picture of it, those 10 different signs, like, hey, can I park right now? And it gives me an answer.
Huh. So, all these data, all these documents in that loan officers or whoever has to upload or import into the system, it is still up to the LOS, or it's still up to the point of sale system that you're using as a company. Um, Hopefully, they're willing to make the investment because they own the silo. They hold the responsibility. But if they aren't doing that in the next 12 months, then they're going to lose business, and someone is going to come along and do it better. So maybe you're not seeing that today, but you should see it probably by the end of next year, where it can start reading images. So here, post closing. So I think we've all got closed loans. We've all got a big database. What are some of the things post closing, whether it's servicing or new opportunities in your database? Talk about that.
Yeah. So I think this is where, in the post-closing world at least, where where we've had AI for a long time. We've had predictive modeling to help you understand, is this borrower, for services at least, hey, is this borrower going to refi? And services use those models to price their MSRs, and that's been around for a long time. But now what's new is generative AI, where you have those predictive models, but those predictive models, instead of taking like 10 or 20 parameters, you have these large language models which have been trained on billions or trillions of parameters, and they're able to like reason and communicate like humans do. So one example, as you talked about, is OCR, like document recognition and extracting data out of documents. Another one which we're doing right now is customer support agent for servicers. Is you have a closed loan, a new loan needs to be onboarded from the lender needs to transfer that loan to a servicer, and the servicer needs to make a welcome call to the borrower, to ensure that they know that, hey, don't make payments to Bank of America, make payments to PennyMac, the new loan servicer, and um, those interactions can now be automated with AI agents, where the AI agent actually makes the phone call, and that actually reduces the repurchase risk that the lender has, because if the borrower misses, if you make the phone call, welcome call, reduce the risk of the borrower not knowing where to make the payment. Um, and in general, like I think what we're trying to build, or what we'll see is, we've always had, the borrower has been given this white glove service when they're looking for a loan. The loan officer always, like provides personalized guidance, personalized service for the 6 months, and then after a loan closes, for the 10 years, the personalized service is gone. Now you're talking to a servicer. The lender is not even talking to you. And so we're trying to build like an AI servicing agent that continues that white glove service and continues that brand into servicing, and sort of and builds that relationship with the homeowner.
Yeah, and a lot of post closing is redundant, the same script over and over and over again. And right now, it is that human has to make that call, or it's like this very very robotic voice agent, making that voice more human, making it sound like you mentioned. We were talking a couple of months ago how if the person's in Southern California or if they're in Alabama, you can kind of have the agent's voice map over into the dialect of what someone from New York would want to hear from their agent. Is you're doing a little bit of that?
Yeah, so we rolled out rolled out our Spanish, our Latin American accent, and our Midwestern accent. So now, whenever a phone number comes in from 217, which is Illinois zip code, the AI picks up a Midwestern accent, like to make the
Yeah.
borrower feel more comfortable and like continue that relationship. Um,
Yeah.
and it's funny, like another thing is like language. I mean, CFPB did a report where between 2020 and 2040, 75% of new home buyers are going to be Hispanic. How many loan officers or how many servicing agents that you have
Hmm.
that are fluent in Spanish? With the AI agent, like allows you to like have a Spanish speaking staff without having to like go and hire, manage, and train.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's interesting. So as we kind of wrap up, any questions, if there's any questions, put those in chat. But as we wrap up, a couple of things that have hit the news lately in the last couple of months. Better.com made the big announcement for their AI called Betsy. Rishi, share us a little bit about what they're doing. What makes it interesting to you?
Yeah. So voice AI is this like new modality where voice consumers communicate via voice 10 times more often than they communicate via chat with any company. And better.com has built like an AI LOA that calls new refi leads and to within 30 seconds of the lead being generated and gets them to qualifies them. And Betsy right now is I think when Vishal last talked about the results, I think Betsy right now is making over 1,000 calls a day. And those 1,000 calls, so that's like about each call is about 5 minutes. So that's 5,000 minutes a day that is being saved from the loan officer. And that 5,000 minutes is being done by the AI, and the loan officer gets a warm lead that is really interested in the product, rather than a new lead that may
Mm-hmm.
not be looking.
So there's kind of raising the bar on the lead and the voice agent stuff. They also, one thing that I was reading about with that is they own the point of sale, they own the LOS, they own post closing, they own the CRM, they built all that. So like you talked about at the very beginning, they have a full data set. So when they build their models, they're using the full data set. So that does help them.
Yeah, I think that's one thing that we're seeing with a lot of big shops like Rocket and even Rate is they own all of the pieces of the technology from the initial lead engagement, POS, CRM, LOS to the post closing software, and that allows them to like invest in that that data infrastructure to build like one singular AI pipeline.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, and so Better is actually looking to offer that to brokers that are the box solution. And even, for example, Guaranteed Rate, they last month released a report that they have invested in the last 4 years $100 million to build their generative AI capabilities, and they are already saving $1,000 per loan. They've reduced the cost. They're saving $1,000 per loan, so they just need to originate 100,000 loans to get their money back.
Yeah.
And originating 100,000 loans for a guaranteed rate, it's like 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. And I think Optimal Blue's doing some pretty interesting things on the product and pricing engine. That's kind of the profitability. So they have tons of data points. They have so many customers. I think they're going to be doing some interesting things with AI, and they've announced some things where they have assistants in there to help capital markets folks. So that'll be pretty cool. And then your mention of Rocket Mortgage. Rocket Mortgage has just 50 million phone calls. They have the data on all those phone calls. They can go back and mine that data for information, make it so much better. So I think the better.com model where they're licensing out to other brokers, or I don't know if a broker needs to be like under the better.com. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
your company powered by Better. That could be interesting to see them grow that way, kind of like a UWM model.
Yeah.
leveraging the better technology. So cool stuff coming. And as we wrap up, let's check chats. See if we got any chats. We don't. It doesn't look like we have any chats there. But lots of interesting things coming in the next 12 to 18 months on AI. If you're a mortgage company out there, start with something very small. Maybe it's using ChatGPT to help you write blogs. So start there. Maybe putting in some sort of agent in your CRM or calling or requesting that from your current CRM provider and just start testing it and using it. Even if it screws up, even if it makes mistakes, it's better to start to use it now, work the kinks out for in 6 months or a year when it's ready for prime time. So Rishi, anything you want to add?
No, yeah, I think, we're seeing this is like a new wave of technology that's coming out. In like the 80s, we had the personal computer that came out, and people were initially skeptical about like what are computers. These like take like large rooms, but now you have a computer in every home. Similarly, with the internet coming out in 2000s, people were like, "What's this internet thing?" But now you cannot. The entire world runs like you communicate. It runs powered by the internet. And in 2010s, that was the mobile. Microsoft completely missed the mobile bet because they did not believe in the power of technology improving the consumer experience. And now I feel we're in a state where AI is going to have a similar impact as some of these like large movements in technology. And so the message really is like adapt AI, embrace it, try and learn more about it. It's still very, very early in the developments of it, but it's growing really fast.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. Thanks for giving us some time, and thanks everybody for hopping in. And we'll have our December webinar be announced here in about a week or two. So we'll see you in December. Thanks, Rishi.
Thanks, Jimmy. Appreciate it. See you soon.